25 away from 8 o'clock. Good to have you with us. The Tuesday edition of the South African Morning. I'm Gareth Edwards. 5 people have been killed, over 10,000 affected by the flooding in the Northern Cape, causing extensive damage to roads, bridges and all kinds of infrastructure in Buffelsrivier. You can imagine just how difficult it is for communities now. However, humanitarian organisation Gift of the Givers once again stepping in to help. Its founder, Dr. Imtiaz Sooliman, making time for us this morning. Always so very busy, Doctor. I appreciate your time. So just give me a sense then from you and your team on the ground. I've set the groundwork, but explain to me what 10,000 people affected actually looks like practically. Good morning.
Good morning, Gareth. Yeah, it's a huge amount of people. The reality is that we haven't even got into the areas yet. The roads have been cut off. It's day 7 now. There's no access in any way. You know, all the roads are gone. The N7, other roads are all messed up. There's no way to get in. In a meeting yesterday with the municipalities from certain of the districts, they try to find roads that may be accessible by 4x4. And they're saying helicopters are not feasible because the area covered is huge and there's 6,000 households affected right up to the Namibian border. I still feel there is an option for helicopters because several flights can be taken in various areas throughout the day to make quick drop-offs. The roads are in a very bad state. There's potholes, you know, besides the floods itself. Before that, the roads have been in a bad state. So to get to the areas is going to take very long. And already 7 days have passed on, but no aid reaching the people. You know, it's going to be a real mess and it's going to be a disaster in terms of people waiting. There's no supplies coming in terms of commercial supplies also. They're running out of water. There's no food. They can't access their grants. They can't go to the shop. They can't go to the bank. Something needs to be done very rapidly today.
Talk to me about, in an ideal world, Dr. Sooliman, because I think many people would agree that if you're struggling as a Gift of the Givers to try and get this done, it's nearly impossible. But if you had it all your own way to get this done as quickly as possible to help people there, what would you need as of this morning? Let's try and see if we can't get the right people here on eNCA and get the conversations going. What do you need?
We need helicopters because although the roads, they say there's some roads to go by 4x4, we need helicopters. No matter, it's very expensive. Yes, it's very expensive business, but you're talking about human life. You're not talking about something very ordinary. No, so we need, those kids are without food. They're without water. People are stressed. They're anxious. They don't know where the aid is going to come from. We have to do everything possible to take in as much aid as possible, as fast as possible. Helicopters is the most expensive way, but it's the fastest way. And whilst we're doing that in parallel, we need people who've got 4x4s. Many people got 4x4s to take items across on those dangerous roads and those roads that are slightly impassable because big trucks may not be able to go through. So 4x4s, those can support private companies, mining companies. There's huge mining companies in the Northern Cape. You know, call the mining companies to come forward with their own helicopters, with funds, with support. But funds are required for food items, nutritionally enriched foods, bottled water, mattresses, blankets, hygiene packs, new clothing. All this is required very urgently. It's day 7. I mean, it's a disgrace that 7 days have passed and nothing has happened. You wonder, what does national disaster do? You know, they've been sleeping during the KZN floods. They were sleeping during the fire in Sobeja. Again, they caught sleeping. And it's not like nobody knew there's going to be bad weather patterns. What's happening to the management structure in national disaster?
Yeah, and I think many people will agree exactly with that sentiment. It always seems to be a sense that national government is caught off guard with this. And even if they are caught off guard, they're very slow off the mark as well. Because I can't help but get the sense that the infrastructure in the area was bad already, Doctor, and now this has just exacerbated the effect as well. What are the conversations with national government, provincial government? Just remind me, maybe I've missed the headline somewhere, but has this been declared a state of disaster?
Not yet. It hasn't been declared a state of disaster, but it actually doesn't make any difference because even though they may declare a state of disaster, the speed of reaction is so slow it makes no difference, to be honest.
What about the army? Do you think the army? You're talking helicopters. Forgive me, it's either the army or the Air Force, SANDF. I'm not in that space. What about them? Do you think they could help?
Well, they've asked the poor municipalities, they caught up. You know, they caught up in a political. It's embarrassing for them, or it's difficult for them to make demands. They've asked provincial government in the Northern Cape for helicopters. It hasn't been forthcoming. They've asked the Defence Force for helicopter. It hasn't come. The infrastructure, the availability of helicopters, the maintenance is just so poor and pathetic in the Defence Force that everything is not easily accessible. we may have. I'm making a call to the Western Cape government, to Premier Alan Mindy himself and disaster management. You guys put up 2 helicopters to assist the floods in the Western Cape as a courtesy to assist the people in the neighboring province. If you guys can put up those 2 helicopters again, it will help speed up, to get aid to the people as soon as possible. Gift of the Givers have got truckloads of supplies already waiting in Springbok to take aid across. The second call is to the mining companies. You guys have got helicopters. You make business in the Northern Cape. Can you provide them and even provide funding for supplies to get to the people? We look at 6,000 households. It's going to take a very long time to get to all those people. So the more helicopters we have, the faster we can get in. We can bring ease to the people who must be in a state of terrible anxiety right now.
Yeah, you can just imagine, especially those who need medical care, perhaps they're on chronic medication, not even to talk about clean drinking water and food. Doctor, thank you very much. I think it's very clear what is needed as well. Those businesses up in the Northern Cape, especially the mining sector, big 4x4s, off-road vehicles. There's also SARSA, the South African Off-Road Search and Rescue Unit. I'm quite sure that if not involved already, I'm sure that they will be putting up their hands as well. But the call as well to the Western Cape government to assist if at all possible. It's about trying to get as much help as needed. I think everyone knows Gift of the Givers. It's simply about trying to get aid through to those who need it the most. A huge, huge issue up in the Northern Cape. My thanks to Gift of the Givers chairman and founder, Dr. Imtiaz Sooliman.